Hello again, everybody, and welcome to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Russell and Associates. I'm Justin Barrientos. Thank you for joining us today. And as always, we'll find out what happened this week in Warrior football. And it was Sioux Falls, and it was a 14-10 win. Some may say maybe a little boring because there was no scoring in the first half, but there's always something going on. Your thoughts on how the game went this week?
Well, anybody that was at the game or watched it, it's not a boring football game. Some people come to watch a track meet. It was like a heavyweight fight, to be honest with you. It was physical, it was fast, and our guests will talk about that as well. But they're the second-ranked defense in the league, along with Augustana, and also the tops in the country. So you start looking at who we played against, and also the level that we played at the last couple weeks is really starting to show at the top of the level of the big boys in the league, and how it's played. And if you enjoy that kind of football, like I do, it was really, really fun.
Well, I was kind of looking at that because obviously Augustana is next week, and so you look at their scores, and they were scoring 40, 50 points until they hit Sioux Falls, and then it was 25 points, I think, that they scored against them. What makes Sioux Falls so tough on defense?
Well, the front seven's physical. When we wore them down, our offensive line and tight end group did a great job, blocking them, and all of a sudden it goes from 2 yards a carry to 4 yards to a carry to a 26-yard carry and those kind of things. And our protection was, they kind of got there early and didn't blitz us a ton. And as they put more heat on, all of a sudden we're starting to spread the ball around again and kept Owen upright. And once he started throwing around, I think that really became a balanced attack. And we kept our defense off the field, which we haven't done. So our third down percentage got much better. And when we start controlling the clock, of course, we didn't quite get to 30 minutes, but we got closer. But that really is a big advantage for us.
All right, talk about the start of the game, because your first offensive drive went for a while and then it ended up in a turnover. But tell us what happened.
Yeah, we started fast now the last couple of weeks, and that's what we've been really focusing on, and we did, and it was going great. We were chewing in against a pretty good wind. It was about a 20-mile gust wind, right sideways from our bench to their bench, so it was a really difficult wind. And the interception that we got came off one of our kids' hands. Kind of two kids collided, the ball pops up and they get it. But we were on a roll. And then we also had two drives in the first half that we went into field goals. So we drove the ball down there 3 drives in a row. And the wind went up, and Jake hit the kick on his first field goal, went up and it hung a left about the goal line. It flew left with a wind gust of about 5 or 6 yards. So great opportunities, but we get really nothing out of it, obviously, but we were controlling the game as early as the beginning of the game.
And, towards the end of the first half, you got the interception from Arian Lacey, which kind of shows the control that you had in that first half.
Yeah, and they were moving the ball kind of too, and they were kind of hitting the same spot, and it was the same kind of thing. Our defensive line just kept coming and coming and coming, and as they wore down, I think that made a big difference. We started getting our hands, you kind of buzz the tower of the quarterback a little bit, you get your hands on him a couple times, and all of a sudden we're in his face. And he threw a ball up, and AJ made an unbelievable catch. It was awesome, and that really sparked us going into halftime to stop that drive. And he had another one in the game as well, so he had 2 interceptions. But yeah, that was big. We go into the halftime, 0-0, and we feel like we're up by 3 touchdowns. It was like there was no issues with our confidence, and what we're doing, how we're playing. It was the best first half that we played, I think, since game 1.
All right, we'll get to the second half in a moment, but I want to keep talking about Arian or AJ Lacey, because we talked about him at the beginning of the season as a possible playmaker, and then he gets the start against Southwest, which was his first start of the season, and he's really blossomed into a really good defensive player for you guys.
Yeah, it took him a little while just to get used to playing in our system. He's a transfer kid, and that takes time. And especially in the secondary, if you're just playing man-to-man all the time and get on a kid and stay on him, that's one thing, but it's not what we're pretty complex defense. And so he started to mature as he felt more comfortable within the defense, and then you could start seeing his skill really come up. You could see it in practice, but to see it in a game, really the last month of the season now, he's really rose to a level that he's right now he's playing the best of any of the corners we got.
All right, okay. Second half against Sioux Falls, they start out with the ball and you hold them, and then the offense takes over and you get your first score of the game.
Yeah, it was huge. It was great to get the defense to shut it down, because that was, again, going into the half we felt good, and then we started on defense coming back out, where last week it was just the opposite, where we scored right before half and then got the ball back right away as well. But defense did a great job, changing the momentum, made them kick the football, and we got the ball back, and our offense put a drive together, and we scored. We faked the field goal, and Dakota Matthews got it down to the 1, and then we knocked it in. Noah Carlson took it in, but you could just feel it on the sideline on how excited that was, that exchange of our defense getting stopped and then us going down and getting the scoring going up 7-0.
You mentioned Noah Carlson. He kind of had the bulk of the carries this week and the bulk of the yards on the ground. Talk about what he did this week.
Yeah, he's a fierce runner. And same kind of thing. He transferred into, hadn't played football since he was back at Rushford Peterson. So it's been about 4 years since he's carried the ball. So it's taken him a while to understand the fits and play football again. He started out at receiver, then we moved him to running back, and now he's kind of like the old guy that you saw in Rushford at the state championships. He's a good combination with Dominic London. Those two guys together carried it. Pretty close in carries, but he runs hard, and he busted a couple tackles and took off on a couple, and he got in the end zone for us as well. Mm-hmm. So it was fun. It's good to see him having some fun playing a game that he loves, just like he did back in the day just down the street.
All right, tide kind of turned then after that. Sioux Falls was able to score a couple of times, and they took the lead. What happened during that stretch?
Well, I think it was another. We had another turnover. Mm-hmm. That was one of them in the red zone. It bounced off a guy's helmet. So he was throwing the ball. The guy was open and Owen threw it. And it bounced off a defensive line's helmet, went straight up in the air, and their safety caught it. It's like on the 30-yard line, and boom, 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 they went in and scored. That's what good teams do, right? So it was hard to get that shut down. Although we had a couple opportunities. So they got the momentum there for a while, and all of a sudden they went up 10-7. But again, no panic. We had plenty of time. We're deep in the game, and we went back on the field offensively after another defensive stop and said we got to march this thing down there. And we start out, we get it moving, and then all of a sudden we hit Dakota Matthews for a 70-yard touchdown. And believe me, every step he took was another breath of fresh air for our whole team. The whole team was jumping up and down like run Forrest run kind of a deal. And he got there and dove in the end zone. It was awesome, and it's exciting for him being from Winona, mm-hmm. But more importantly just being a Warrior and doing his 111th, and that was his time, and he did it.
So you talked about the two big catches that Dakota had in the game, and that's all that he had. I think it was 80 yards total, but 70 on one play, 10 on the other in the first half. I mean, right spot, right time? Is that
yeah, and he's playing really well, and that's what he does best, is catch the football. And we go back to the state tournament when Winona High was there for so many years. That he's as good off the ground as he is on the ground, and he's really matured as a tight end. He was a receiver. Now we moved him inside. And he earned those opportunities for those reps by catching the football and blocking his tail off. And both catches were tough catches, and he also kept his feet and kept going. But really excited for him. That's what he does. He catches the football great.
In a couple of minutes, we'll bring the players on. Luke Lashinsky will be one of them. He had a key sack late in the game.
Yeah, big sack. When we scored and went ahead and kicked the extra point, all of a sudden we're up 14-10. We're like, okay. And we got to kick it back to them. We're kicking into the wind and all that stuff, so we sky kick. We do a good job on the cover, and then they just barely got a first down, which was a little iffy. Then they get another one, and it's like, oh boy, hold on, fellas, and the clock's tick, 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 going down, and it's awesome. And we knew if we could get them covered, and so we went kind of a man-to-man coverage and just let our four guys rush. And Luke took off and went right past the kid and got the sack. Now, they only took 5 seconds off the clock. I didn't know Luke was that fast, but they only took 5 seconds off the clock. So we're like, hey, dude, that was a 7-second sack, that kind of stuff. But it was a huge play because it put him in a much more difficult situation, being like second or third down and, like 14 or something like that, or 15, and that makes a huge difference. And we batted down the last two balls and won the football game. So really exciting.
All right, well, that's going to be a good transition into the next segment. We're going to take a break here in the Tom Sawyer Show. We will talk with Luke Lashinsky right after this.
Meet Jenny Siseski of Edina Realty. With nearly 30 years' experience, she knows that right now is the best time to sell your home. Jenny will help you get top dollar, higher than ever before. With today's low interest rates, it's time to upgrade your home and increase its value. High demand and low inventory also make this a perfect time to list your home. Call for a free market analysis. Contact Jenny Siseski at Edina Realty today. 507-458-7038.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're now joined by Luke Lashinsky. And Coach just talked about you and about the big sack that you had against Sioux Falls. Anything you want to counter with what he said?
No, I mean, I'm not going to lie. I didn't even know the magnitude of the sack until after the game. It's like Coach said, it was first down. We were just focused on doing our job, winning the football game, getting them off the field. We knew that they needed a touchdown so we could be more aggressive in our pass rush. And it was all set up by the other three guys that were rushing the quarterback too. We all got there, in my opinion. I was the one to get there in the stat sheet, but we all got there as a group, so that was a big moment for us as D-line.
All right.
You know, going back, I want to go back to when you were looking at coming to Winona State. There's a guy, Tazarin Landry, old Taz, that he knows. He's been on the show in the past, and you know him from. Why don't you explain your connection to Winona through Taz?
Yeah, Big Taz. He was my D-line coach in high school. Coached me 4 years there. I still go home in the summers and work out with him. So he was kind of the main selling point to Winona for me as well. And it helped that his D-line coach at the time was the guy that was recruiting me, and Zach Barton here. So that was a good connection to have.
You know, going back to that game, and I was talking about how excited people were when, you know, Dakota caught the ball, guy falls off him and he takes off. What were you thinking on the sideline? Because I saw you on the film running down the sideline as well. What was going on with the guys on the sideline?
When Dakota caught the pass, I was through the roof excited, obviously. We took the lead, but then I took a look at the clock and I said, there's still a minute 20 left. Our job's not done yet. So all that practice we did, and 2-minute drills in the fall camp and spring ball, and every time leading up to this moment, that's the 2-minute drills kicked into play on Saturday. So
You've really kind of put your name in the stat sheet over the past couple of weeks against Southwest. You had 2 fumble recoveries. Walk us through a couple of those.
The fumble recoveries, one of them, the first one I should say, the offensive line and I, both kind of had the ball, and I just ripped it out of his hands. The first one, it put us on our plus side of the 50, and it was a good turnover to have. And the second one, I was really excited to get it, but then afterwards, looking at the film, I probably should have just scooped and scored it. I was more focused on just getting the ball back for our offense rather than picking it up and scoring the ball. But they were good turnovers to have. And then, this past week was a good sack. Like I said, I didn't realize it until after the game how important it was. So.
Coach, you were shaking your head as he was talking about scooping and scoring.
Well, scooping's one thing. Scoring from midfield might be another. We talk about his speed, but let's get real here. We want to get a couple guys in pitch relationship on that. The last question I have for you is, going on the road 2 weeks in a row, what's that going to be like for our football team?
I think that it was really important that we did have 2 road games earlier in the season. It kind of taught us how to adjust and how to play on a short week. We just got back on late Saturday night. We're leaving early Friday morning again. We had that test earlier in the season, and I think we're ready for it as a team. We have the right mindset for it now, and we know what to expect. I think this week, practice-wise, it's going to be a great week. Augustana is a great team. So we're going to have a good mindset going into practice and be ready to hit the road again.
Awesome.
Obviously, football is a big part of this, but this is going to set you up for what's coming up later in life after college. And I know you from basketball refereeing last year, which was a really neat thing. But you also have a business on the side. I saw your website. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, actually, it was during COVID. One of my teammates, Joe Perhatz, plays on the D-line with me. We were just thinking of ideas to try to make some money during COVID, and we had all this extra time on our hands. We didn't know what to do with our time. And we decided to create a small little concrete business and make some tiki torches for people, because we knew they'd be spending time at home more often than not. And so it turned into be a small business, a little project idea, into a great, college student business that really wasn't that hard, but people love them. So Joe and I, we kind of took off with it.
So you sell a lot of them then?
Yeah, pretty good. It's tough during the football season, obviously, but during the summer months and in spring, it's great.
All right, and I do have to ask you about the basketball refereeing, because it's great to do, because there's a referee shortage, and we talk about referees all the time, so we want to make sure that we're saying nice things. But I mean, has that kind of changed your thoughts on referees and maybe how you see them during the games?
Oh, totally. If you catch me during the game yelling at a referee, it's very rare. Just because I know if I'm officiating, I don't want to be yelled at by a player, and it's not gonna. If they're talking to me, it's not gonna help their cause. So same thing when I'm playing football. If I'm talking to the referee, 99% of the times it's good things because if I'm yelling at them, it's not gonna help me out in any way. So.
All right, well, very good. Thank you for joining us here today, and good luck the rest of the season.
Yeah, I appreciate it. Thank you.
All right, we're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. When we come back, Tyler Zerpeli will join us right after this.
Meet Jenny Soseski of Edina Realty. With nearly 30 years' experience, she knows that right now is the best time to sell your home. Jenny will help you get top dollar, higher than ever before. With today's low interest rates, it's time to upgrade your home and increase its value. High demand and low inventory also make this a perfect time to list your home. Call for a free market analysis. Contact Jenny Soseski at Edina Realty today, 507-458-7038.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show here on HBC TV 25. We're now going to talk some offense with Tyler Zerpeli. Thanks for joining us here today.
Appreciate it. I'm glad to be here.
Now, you're a fullback, and so, you don't go into fullback for a lot of stats. We were talking with Luke about his stats that he's had. But I do want to say, you had your first collegiate touchdown earlier this year against Minnesota State Moorhead. Can you tell us about that?
Yeah, so, as a fullback, I understood my role kind of coming here and kind of being part of the offense is both of use of blocking and, catching the ball sometimes. And whenever I get a chance to catch it, it's a blessing. So I got to make the most of those. Whenever the ball's, tossed to me, I better catch it because, I might not get as many opportunities, but, on the blocking side of the offense, I get a lot of opportunities, and I'm very thankful for that. So against Moorhead, I had a arrow route out in the flat, and luckily Owen found me, and he dished it off to me for a short touchdown, but it was great because it was my first college touchdown, and it was a pretty special point in my career. So.
We laugh a lot, Tyler, about Zerp. We usually just call you, but and it's fitting because what we like to watch you do is take like 5 or 6 steps and smash into stuff. And so when you have a thankless job like that, and most people don't even notice it, but we do. What's that like when you put your hand in the ground and that linebacker's about 6 yards from you, and in moments you're going to be faced cage to cage with him? What's that like for you?
It's pretty intense, and I think the game of football is super great because a lot of different players can find different parts of the game that they thrive off of, and I think going and facing up a linebacker is just something I really enjoy to do, and it's something I've enjoyed my entire career. So just to be able to be put in those situations, it's a very intense moment, but that's why I play the game, and that's why I'm thankful to be in these opportunities every time. And I think it's definitely mentally a test, but it's something I thrive for, and it's something I look for every Saturday.
We were talking about the physicality of the game, and obviously that's an area that you excel in. But why don't you just talk a little bit about what your body goes through in a day, and now here we are, in 8 games in, and your body takes a beating. I don't think people really understand the level of what that is, and how do you handle that each week with the physicality of the game?
Yeah, 100%. I mean, so these games every week, they usually start, as soon as you get off that bus. You gotta think about getting your rest right away. You gotta think about, how can I get my body where it's in the best condition by Saturday, so I'm ready to play at my best level, like we talk about every week. And whether that's rest, ice bath, stretching, doing stuff outside of practice. It's getting in the training room. Stacy and her staff does a wonderful job, and they help us. They get our bodies right every week. And I think it's something you have to be on top of every day. It's not just day before the game type of deal. It's definitely an entire week to get your body right for these games because it is an aggressive game.
Kind of along with that, I saw a post that you had, a picture that you had with JV and Roebuck, and you said that it was one of the toughest workouts that you ever went through,
Yeah.
some mountain workout. Tell us a little bit about that.
Yeah, so fortunately, my girlfriend's parents they have a house out in Arizona, so I went out to visit her this summer, and I hit up my running back, one of my running backs, Javian, because I knew he was out there, and he's like, yeah, man, let's go catch a workout somewhere. And from Wisconsin, I was expecting, okay, maybe we'll go find a gym somewhere or whatever. And he takes me out to a big bluff, a big mountain, and he goes, all right, he goes, we're gonna run up this mountain 4 times. And I look at him like he's crazy. And by the end of it, I'm telling you, I was dragging. He was definitely helping me out, but it was really good work, and I was thankful he was able to come and help me out and get me better that day, which was very cool.
You know, the last question I have for you is, you know, this summer your workouts, we'll talk about that a little bit. You know, being back home a little bit, being here, the COVID thing. What was your regiment getting ready for the season when you have to go through a COVID type year?
Yeah, so the COVID year was definitely a curveball for a lot of us, I think. Definitely, I think there was 2 ways to look at it when we kind of got the news that we weren't able to have our season last season. But the approach I think most of us took was, you know, we can use this COVID year to, you know, build ourselves, you know, physically, mentally, and get ourselves ready for this next season. You know, maybe if we get in the weight room and train and work on our crafts, we can get out there and we can perform at even, you know, reach our goals and perform at an even better level. So I think we used this COVID year more as an opportunity to get better rather than kind of just more time and a waste of time. But I think a lot of us used that time wisely, and we got better and we were ready for the season.
Absolutely.
All right, well, thank you for joining us here today.
Thank
and
you.
Good luck the rest of the
It's
season.
an honor. Thank you. I appreciate it.
All
Thank
right.
you.
We're going to take a break here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll talk about next week and Augustana. That's coming up right after this. Catch the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. Brought to you by Russell and Associates. WSU head football coach Tom Sawyer will join me, Justin Barrientos, for an inside look at the Warrior football program and this year's season. Watch the Tom Sawyer Show Wednesday through Saturday at noon and Wednesday through Saturday at 6:30 p.m. and right before every Warrior home game on HBC TV 25. Brought to you by Russell and Associates.
Meet Jenny Siseski of Edina Realty. With nearly 30 years' experience, she knows that right now is the best time to sell your home. Jenny will help you get top dollar, higher than ever before. With today's low interest rates, it's time to upgrade your home and increase its value. High demand and low inventory also make this a perfect time to list your home. Call for a free market analysis. Contact Jenny Siseski at Edina Realty today, 507-458-7038.
And welcome back to the Tom Sawyer Show on HBC TV 25. We're brought to you by Russell and Associates. We'll get to Augustana in just a bit, but this is your last road trip as a college head coach, unless you go to the playoffs.
Sure.
But for the last NSIC road trip, have you kind of thought about that? And what are some of the things that you're going to miss about going out on the road with these guys?
It's just being like with these guys. I mean, you saw them, they're all excited they are to be here and be a part of everything that we're doing as a program, and I'll miss that for sure. Going on the road's great, you know, to sit in a hotel at 9 o'clock at night on a Friday and eating Oreo cookies and drinking milk, and, you know, simple things like that is what I'll miss most. But you get on a bus with 85 people and you roll down the road, it's an event. You know, there's a lot of stuff going on, and it's fun, but it's also business, so you get a little bit of both. So I'll miss that interaction with the players and the staff, you know, sometimes for 10 hours at a time.
Is there going to be any relief about not having to go on the road and plan these things? Because you've talked before about all the different things that have to go into road trips that people just don't think about. And now you're not going to have to worry about that anymore.
Yeah, fortunately, Joe Holtzclaw handles most of that these days. I used to do all of it, but you got meals before we ever leave town. We have meals when we get there. We have workout facilities that we have to deal with on the road. Like we've been practicing now at either Blue Earth or Fairmont High School, and we'll do that again this week. So you got to coordinate with all of that, insurance and all the things that go with that. And then feeding our guys at night. You don't go to a restaurant with 85 people. It's not any restaurant, and we eat a lot of food. So all of that planning, the logistics is a lot. With 2 buses and a car every time we go someplace, it's a lot. But also, that's why you have one person always do it. So, otherwise you get too many hands in the fire. But
Right.
Joe does a great job.
All right, very good. So it's Augustana this week, which is obviously going to be a big one, nationally ranked. They're 7-1. They beat Minnesota State this past week, which we'll be facing at the end of the year. Tell us a little bit about how you match up against Augustana.
Yeah, I think we match up really well, especially the way we're playing right now. We're fairly healthy, and that's the key. Just like they are, you still get your quarterback standing there, just like their quarterback was the South Offensive Player of the Year in the preseason, and we know they're a good football team, but they're also just another really good football team, and I mean that in a complimentary way. With that, Wayne State was the same way, USF was the same way, Duluth was the same way, Mankato will be the same way. Every week it's going to come down to about 3 possessions in the game. And we've now started to play well all 4 quarters the last couple of weeks, and that's going to be critical in a game like this. USF beat them at home, cross-town rival, and that's their only loss. So that's a good comparison for our players to go that, hey, we just beat a team who beat a team, and it can help us really get in position to still have a chance to win the South title and possibly any postseason. With what's ahead of us, both Upper Iowa and Mankato after that. But this is a big one for us. It's the biggest of the year, and it's also a team that we do things right and we'll win the game.
And it's also kind of a hyped up game too, because it's their annual Shrine Game, 49th annual Shrine Game. So all the proceeds that they have go to children's hospitals, which is obviously kind of a big thing. And I don't know what they do for that, but I imagine that it's going to be a pretty big atmosphere.
Yeah, and that's what you want. Like you said, they're nationally ranked. They have a special event going on. They draw well there. They have a beautiful stadium there. It's fun for our guys to go there and play. We're going to stay in the same hotel. So the routine from last week to this week is exactly the same. But the venue is going to be different. It's going to be a little bit different atmosphere. And that's what we love. It's just like playing at home and homecoming. You know what I mean? And that's what our guys live for, is to play in front of big crowds. And when you get them on the road, it's even better. So, I think back to when they first opened the stadium, we gave them their first loss there. So it'd be fun for us to get one more before I'm done and before these seniors are done. We look forward to the trip.
All right. You mentioned that health-wise, you seem to be fairly healthy. Can you explain what that's going to be like this week?
Yeah, we'll get Javian Roebuck back. Even though both running backs that we mentioned earlier did really well, to have a 230-pound running back there as well makes a big difference. And he came with us. He only played one play. He's coming off a sprained ankle. He's healthy. I just want if we don't have to use him, we don't have to. Now we got him for the home stretch, so he'll be back. Everybody else on the offense is good to go. We got Cam Gavin. We hope that we'll see how he is in practice this week. But if we can get him back at safety, back there with Mitch Snitker, just makes us a little bit better with his. He's the quarterback back there. But again, everybody else on the defense is ready to go as well.
And then your final couple of lunches coming up?
Yeah, we got a couple more. We'll do 3 more, including this week, and again noon over at the Riverport Inn. It's always fun. These 2 guys will be joining me again, and that's just another opportunity for our student athletes to get up in front of a crowd. We pick on them a little bit. They get a free lunch out of the deal, and away we go. But it's a good opportunity for local people to catch a little bit more football.
All right. As always, thank you for joining us. Thanks for the insights, and good luck at Augustana.
Thank you.
All right, and thank you for joining us here on the Tom Sawyer Show. We'll see you next week here on HBC TV 25.